In an unprecedented move to seal its borders, the European Union has now banned travellers from outside the bloc for 30 days to deal with the coronavirus outbreak. The measure will apply to all 26 European Union states as well as Iceland, Norway and Switzerland. On the other hand, the United Kingdom citizens will remain unaffected.
To introduce a temporary restriction on non-essential travel to the European Union. Why that? Because we think non-essential travel should be reduced right now too, in order to not to spread the virus further, be it within the European Union or by leaving the European Union.
The travel ban will affect all non-European Union nationals from visiting the bloc. The ban does not affect long-term residents, family members of EU nationals and diplomats, cross-border and healthcare workers and people transporting goods. This ban comes as deaths continue to soar in Italy, Spain and France.
But it has clearly slowed down.
Italy has reported 345 new coronavirus deaths in just the last 24 hours. The death toll now stands at 2,503. The number of cases rose to 31,506 from a previous high of 27,980, a 12.6% rise, which is the slowest rate of increase since February.
Milan is no ghost.
Rome's town hall was lit up with the colours of the Italian flag in a show of solidarity as Italy continues to battle the coronavirus. Moving on to Spain now, which is the second worst affected country in Europe after Italy. The number of confirmed cases in Spain have soared by 2,000. This brings the country's total cases to 11,178. Spain is stopping cars from entering its borders from France and Portugal. Only Spanish nationals, residents and cross-border workers were being allowed to enter the country. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has approved a $220 billion aid package to help deal with the economic impact of the pandemic. According to Sanchez, the package amounts to about 20% of the country's GDP and is the biggest mobilization of economic resources in Spain's history. Meanwhile, in a shocking incident, at least 70 elderly people have been infected with the coronavirus in a retirement facility in Madrid. At least 15 people have reportedly died from it. Meanwhile, France is now under a complete lockdown, ordering people to stay at home. This makes France the latest country to impose strict restrictions as cases continue to soar. The number of confirmed cases in France grew by more than 16%, reaching 7,730. The death toll in France also rose to 175. Citizens who leave home must now carry a document detailing the reasons why, with fines for offenders to be set at $150. French soldiers are being given training on how to transport people infected with the coronavirus. A military aircraft was turned into a flying hospital, equipped with everything needed to transport COVID-19 cases. Belgium has now become the latest country to impose a lockdown. Citizens will only be allowed to travel to supermarkets, pharmacies and banks or in cases of emergency. Belgium has reported 185 new coronavirus infections, bringing the total to 1,243. The death toll also doubled in a day, rising from 5 to 10. Meanwhile, Britain paints a different picture from all other countries. While other European countries are calling for strict lockdown measures, the United Kingdom has only asked its citizens to avoid social contact and avoid all non-essential travel. UK Chancellor Rishi Sunak has unveiled a financial package worth $400 billion to ease the burden on businesses caused by the outbreak of the coronavirus. So it was an unprecedented move. The European Union has now virtually shut its borders. Remember, Italy was the first European country to order a complete nationwide lockdown. And the number of cases, despite the lockdown, continue to rise in Italy. Now other European nations have also ordered lockdown or closed their borders. Germany had done it earlier. Spain has now closed its borders as well for all non-essential personnel. WION correspondent Lucy Hu is live with us from Brussels for more on Europe's battle against the coronavirus. Lucy, welcome to WION. Thanks for sharing your views. But Europe now is virtually under lockdown.
Yes, and new measures introduced here in Belgium that were announced last night, local time, following the sort of France model whereby people are asked to be restricted to their homes. They're only allowed out onto the streets to do essential things like shop for groceries, to go to the pharmacy, to the bank, to fill up your car with gas or to visit poor relatives. But there are also, poorly relatives who are unwell at the moment and in poor health. People are also being asked to take some exercise, but to only do that with someone who lives under the same roof. And if you pass someone on the street, you're being asked to keep a distance of 1.5 metres. So these are fairly severe restrictions that are in place here until April the 5th. Belgium now becoming the latest country to impose nationwide lockdowns as the virus continues to spread through Europe.
You see, have you heard anything from the English authorities? Because while the rest of the Europe is virtually under lockdown, UK has not imposed any lockdown measures yet. What's the reasoning given by the UK government?
Well, yes, there is some surprise that the UK isn't following Europe on imposing these much more strict measures, and certainly EU quarters are watching the UK with some concern, given that there is, the rate of, there have been 400 new cases reported in the last couple of days, and then the number keeps increasing in the UK. Certainly the EU has now placed a restriction at its external border to limit entry from foreign travellers into the European Union. That will be in place for 30 days to try again to contain the risk, but also to ensure that the internal borders within the European Union, which operates a freedom of movement policy, i.e. there are no internal borders, that those can stay open. It is up to the UK whether it wants to adopt those measures. We haven't had an official line from the UK government on that yet. Of course, the UK is in a transition period, but it is still technically part of the European Union with regards to rules and regulations at the moment. So we will wait and see what restrictions the UK decides to put in. But yes, the UK does seem to be far more relaxed than other European countries, certainly Spain, France and Italy, which have now had these very, with nationwide lockdown measures in place, in the case of Italy, for some days now.
Absolutely. You mentioned Italy, and we have to focus on Italy. More than 1/3 of all the global deaths due to coronavirus have happened in Italy now. Despite lockdown measures that have been in place in Italy for a few days now, the country still reported close to 3,000 new cases of infections in the last 24 hours. Right, we'll try and reconnect with Lucy in a bit, but Lucy got us all the latest information from Europe. Europe is virtually under lockdown. Italy was the first country in Europe to virtually lock down the country, but despite days of lockdown, nearly 3,000 cases have been reported in Italy in just the last 24 hours. Spain has now also imposed strict border control measures, and only essential people are being allowed to cross their borders. France and Germany and now Belgium have imposed similar restrictions on the movement of people. All this is being done in order to restrict people-to-people contact. Remember, people-to-people contact is the main reason for the spread of the coronavirus. So drastic measures being taken by various countries across Europe to limit people-to-people contact in order to get a grip on this global pandemic. The total number of infected people worldwide will soon touch the 200,000 mark. That's an alarming figure. And certainly, global leaders are taking all necessary steps to get a grip on this virus outbreak.